Good evening, everyone. The objective of the seminar, or this webinar, was to let parents know that there's a lot of question within the parents right now, even who are graduating and taking seats under JEE Main, JEE Advanced, or through Karnataka CT, whether the branch is important or the college is important. What most I didn't know when I was joining engineering was that most of the students who graduate from engineering end up in either managerial jobs, finance job, or consultancy jobs. And I wanted to have a webinar here which tells students if they are interested in a finance career or they want to get into an MBA after engineering, was doing engineering worthwhile decision or should they skip engineering altogether? Why do companies come, if you see IIT Bombay, or you can look at any IITs out there, or you look at any NIT Surat there, or BITS Pilani's, or the top engineering colleges, after the technical jobs, engineering jobs, around 30%, around 15 to 16% of them go into IT jobs. The third highest recruits come from finance jobs. Why do finance companies recruit engineers? So this was the point of discussion today. So I'm going to start asking the panelists there to introduce themselves. They're all engineers. All of them have been engineers in NIT Surat, have pursued finance careers. To talk about their careers, and then we will have a discussion. If you have questions, you could just put up your questions out there and you can answer the questions. If not, I will answer these questions. So Varun, over to you. If you could introduce and talk about yourself first.
Thanks, Vijay. I'm Varun, passed out from NITK Surathkal in 2006 from Chemical Engineering Department. So I'm from Mulki. So my first job was with Wipro. Basically, there was campus placement in 2006. So it was joining in Bangalore for a regular software job. So I was put into the mainframe team, basically. So I was there for 2 years with Wipro. But I was always interested in finance and capital market since my engineering days. So that was always behind my mind. At some point, I wanted a transition. So I spent 1.5 to 2 years at Wipro. Meanwhile, just trying to build some contact or connect basically on how to get into the capital market side. I'll just give you my story. So after 1.5 to 2 years, basically, I just got this 3 months internship at Religare Securities in Bombay. So it was just a 3-month thing, and the pay was almost 1/3 of what I was getting at Wipro. It looked like a tricky situation, but still it was hard. Which was there in the market, so I had to take a call. So I joined Religare for 3 months in Bombay, and this was just because of the connect that I had built over the last 2 years. So a lot of questions were asked, as in no finance background, you're an engineer, software engineer, how will you build yourself a career in finance and all that. And the questions were asked from someone who's already an engineer and MBA guy from IIM. So I told that since you are here, give me 3 months and we'll just see. So I used this 3 months. So I also started preparing for my CFA at Religare when I was there for 3 months. And then that is how I began my career in finance. So I spent 2 years in Religare, Bombay. On the equity research side, basically helping analysts do equity research for them. And after 2 years, I went on to do my master's at Macquarie University in Sydney. So that was a 1-year program. And the idea behind that was, always these questions get asked at some point or other, that you don't have a finance degree or background. I just wanted to address that and get going. So 1-year program, and after that I spent 10 years in Singapore with Maybank. Maybank is Malaysia's largest bank, but I was in Singapore in their asset management team. helping them do fund management, basically focusing on India and other ASEAN markets. Right? So 10 years with Maybank, and since December last year, I'm on my own, doing a few ventures.
So Naveen, if you could introduce yourself to the team and little students out there. So.
Yeah, good evening everybody. So I passed out in 96. It was called KREC then, now it's NITK. And I did my chemical engineering, and engineering was the in thing at that point in time. And I think as I entered the final year, I realized I think this is not the thing I wanted to actually do. But anyhow, I joined Asian Paints. I worked for a year and a half into Bombay. And Bombay being the financial hub, I got influenced with the financial markets there, quit my job, joined Symbiosis Pune, did my MBA. I also did my master's in economics, joined a finance job, but I always loved financial markets. So I moved to a debt broking firm around 2000, and that was not the best of times for financial markets after the dot-com crisis. And finance was a very, very dirty word at that point in time to get a job. I still did this till 2003. I had a short stint in Dubai, again onto wealth management. And 2003, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So 2003, I took a call that I need to come back to my hometown. I was a bit sentimental and start something back in Bangalore. So 2003, I came back and started this advisory firm at that point in time. And I became a certified financial planner, and I'm the only SEBI registered investment advisor in Bangalore. And we do wealth management and fee-based advisory. And it's been 17 years we have been doing this. And it's fantastic. I do two things which I love. One is entrepreneurship, another is finance. Besides my family. So I keep loving what I'm doing, and no regrets at all. A good shift, I would say. And I enjoy each day of my life. The volatility of markets and the volatility of entrepreneurship is exciting. Yes. So that's about it, Vijay.
Okay. Thanks, Naveen. Vinod, to you, if you could introduce you to the team out there and to the students out there.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Hey, thanks, Vijay, for the opportunity. So what I'll do is I'll basically tell what I'm doing right now, and then I'll just tell you how I started from an engineer and my journey to finance. And I'll just spend like a few minutes here, and we can spend the rest of the session probably answering your questions rather than just talking about ourselves here. So right now I am basically working for a hedge fund in Singapore, and we invest in Asian markets. I specifically invest in India and ASEAN market, the Southeast Asian countries like Indonesia, Thailand, etc. So for those who don't know what a hedge fund is, you can think of a hedge fund as similar to a mutual fund, but the hedge fund is a little more sophisticated, and only your high net worth and institutional investors are allowed to invest there. But it's pretty much similar to a mutual fund. So in terms of how I landed here, so basically, like when I was in pre-university, like most of you guys are, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I know that engineering was the only option for me because I didn't want to do medicine. And engineering excited because it was analytical, and it was something that I liked. So I went to Surat Girl, did my mechanical engineer, passed out in 2004. And after that, I went and worked for Tata Motors for about 4 years, and I was in the operations side there. It's only when I went to Tata Motors, started working in a real job, that I found out that, looking at people around me, that I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. And it's not a career that I probably wanted. At the same time, what happened was that once you start earning money, I started saving some money. And I was looking at, okay, what can I do with the money that I've saved? Then I started reading about finance and looking at investing and all that. And that's when I really realized that, finance is something that I really like, right? It's something that comes naturally to me as well, at least more naturally than engineering. So I decided, okay, this is something that I want to do for my career as well. Then I looked at what options are available. And finally, I ended up going to US and doing my master's in financial engineering from New York University. Even when I went to US, I mean, I basically didn't know what I wanted to do in finance specifically, rather, right? Only when I went there, joined the financial engineering program, that I realized that, okay, the financial engineering program is super quantitative, and it's something that is probably not suited for me. I was more interested in doing the corporate finance side of the career side, right? And so luckily, there was a corporate finance track available in the university. And the corporate finance, you can think of it as something which is similar to an MBA in finance. So that's what I did and graduated. And after that, I went and worked I did investment banking at RBC Capital Markets in New York. I did that for about 6 to 7 years. And in the last 4 or 5 years, I've been in Singapore. I moved from the investment banking side of finance to the investment management side of finance. And this is what I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. And this is something that I really enjoy doing. And I'm happy that I made the conscious effort to get out of a field which I probably didn't like or wasn't really thinking about when I went into engineering and picked the choice that I wanted to do. So I'll stop there. I mean, one thing is that, I mean, I can talk about is my whole journey from finance, from engineering to working in an industry to going into different fields within finance as well, investment banking to asset management, etc. So hopefully can give you some insights on the different industries out there and your options that you can think about when you're starting a career.
Okay. So now that the panelists have been introduced, I would, if the students have questions out there, you could put it in the chat group. You can address them directly to either Varun, Naveen, or Vinod. And they would answer it when the turn comes. So I would, until the questions are coming, I would ask the basic question first to any one of you guys. Like, if we knew better, let's say we were in a high school and we were in QC now, let's say, and we knew all the opportunities that are out there, would we have chosen engineering?
So basically, I think yes, the answer would be yes. I would definitely take engineering because on the hindsight, I think my engineering degree has given me advantage compared to people who have not done engineering, right? I mean, it doesn't matter it was in mechanical or it was in IT or mining rather, right? Why it has been an advantage for me throughout my career in finance has been, one, because it has improved my analytical skills multiple folds, right? I mean, compared to anyone who has not done engineering. The second is because we are more technical oriented, we are more detail oriented than the other people. We reason, we try and question everything, right? So, and this is something which is very important when you're in finance, especially if you're in the investment banking side or the asset management side. The third is, I mean, right now when I'm doing investments, right? My whole job is to look at companies and companies across different industries. Rather, it can be from consumer to chemicals to your IT to your pharmaceuticals. It can be different companies in different sectors, right? And your whole job is to understand these companies, what they do, what is their business model, quickly as possible. Having that engineering background gives you that advantage to know these companies, what they are doing and how are they doing, what's their product, etc., much faster than people who doesn't have that engineering background. So, I mean, I would say that definitely having that engineering background has given me an added advantage over my entire career in finance.
I would tend to agree with Vinod. Just to pretty much what Vinod has said. Just to add a few things. So I think engineering also gives you, this ability to think in terms of numbers, right? Much better, I would like to say, and big picture analysis of a complicated issue or problem. These are a few more things that I think I have learned from engineering and which has helped me in my career of finance. Though I would like to add that, given an option or, on hindsight, you had to put me 10, 15 years back and ask me what exactly I want to do again. Along with engineering, probably I would have just taken a few commerce or finance subject, on the sidelines or do some electives or something, just to supplement the engineering skills with accounting or, or some other psychology course or something like that. But definitely no regrets. Engineering So yeah, that is all I would like to add.
So it's a tough call. Yeah, it's we go with something called past performance is not an indicator. But I think what engineering did for me was I got the best of peers, my colleagues, who were always a pressure group for performing better. So that was one thing which helped me a lot, and almost all of them were analytically so strong that at least you'd like to come somewhere closer to them. So the bar gets raised. So we found that the other streams we don't have this. The natural choice, at least my time, was everybody opted for engineering. So the best guys go to engineering or medicine. So if at this point in time the choice was given and there was a course which was more around finance rather than more commerce, so probably I would have opted. But I don't think we have anything of that sort. So at this point in time, if we have exactly the same courses available, the typical BComs, I would have still gone for engineering with a better peer group and then done those changes, because I think engineering helps you to become more mathematically stronger, analytical stronger, and you also have very good peer group which is also very strong. So I think it's a difficult choice, Vijay.
Naveen, let's to the thing. When we joined engineering, we were so particular about the branch we wanted to join. Right? So we wanted to get into certain branches when we joined engineering. We thought that if you join a certain branch, we would get certain jobs and so on. But for the student, now that we've come out and we've seen the industry, we realize that most of us end up in management, consultancy thing. If you're choosing a career, non-technical career, does the branch really matter?
So this is for NITK for the last 2-3 years, right? So everybody can see the slides I would present, right? So yeah, last 2-3 years, if you just look at the placement patterns in NITK, right? So this is in the metallurgy department, just randomly pulled out metallurgy, right? So what I've highlighted is the typical core companies where people have opted their jobs with, and that is very, very limited. If you just see 4 here, Bharat Forge, Applied Materials, IOCL, GSW. So rest of them all have ended up with, like either finance or analytics or general management kind of program. And if I just pull out, Vijay, can you just share the slide on mechanical?
Okay. So this is the entire data, guys, on metallurgy. I'll just share the. I think other than the one you highlighted are the ones in metallurgy, right?
Yeah. Those are the core, metallurgy jobs where people have opted out.
Yeah.
So see, pretty much similar, set of companies. So mechanical. So I have not included the core jobs, but if I just look at the management kind of jobs, finance kind of jobs, where mechanical engineers have opted, pretty much similar. So at least this gives you some message, or this is some kind of indicator I would like to say. Vinod and Naveen can add.
So there are no companies that have hired in mechanical per se. Like there are.
No. There are. I've just tried to show that similar. First one was to show that very few guys have opted for core jobs, right? They've all opted either finance or analytics. Second, and the companies which have hired the metallurgy guys have pretty much hired the mechanical guys, is what I'm trying to drive. There are a few guys who opted for mechanical. I have not shared that data.
So City would be a finance company, Deloitte consultancy company, finance company, HSBC finance company.
Yes.
Tata Consulting Services, again consultancy. Okay, HSBC. You can see a lot of either consultancy jobs or finance jobs for non-technical jobs coming out there.
Yeah. A lot of startups also. Nestaway, you have Byju's. Yeah.
So let's say a student is interested in finance and is in engineering or gets into engineering. What are the other certifications that they can look out after masters? You did CFA. Varun, can you talk about CFA?
Yeah. So CFA level 1, I think, would give you good ground on accounting, and it will cover a lot of areas like say derivatives, accounting. You have behavioral finance, which is covered. you have corporate finance, you have risk management. So CFA level 1, I think, would give you a good, solid understanding of the finance area, and that I think is good enough to demonstrate, at least in the campus, or if you're CFA level 1 clear or certified, good enough to convince any recruiter that you have a very solid finance ground or understanding. So that is very helpful. On top of it, there are a lot of these courses or Coursera or these kind of platforms, right? So on advanced, say Excel or machine learning, basically I think is just catching fancy of a lot of recruiters these days. So anything on machine learning like Python or advanced Excel or behavioral finance or corporate, there are a lot of individual programs on Coursera or platforms like this. Anything that interests, if you can just get a certificate done and if you can just convince the recruiter in the campus, that should be very good, Vijay, to make a move.
So Naveen, you did your MBA after engineering, right? After 1 or 2 years in Asian Paints.
Correct.
So for the students who are looking at an MBA career after engineering, what is your suggestion to them?
Yeah, okay. So I think by that time, the student should be more or less clear what career path one wants to take forward. So 4 years would be a big time. And by that time, I think the person should have realized whether they would. So we are focusing on finance, right, Vijay?
Yeah, and no, it doesn't have to be finance. You can say finance, MBA, finance in options as well as to students as well. You can give them a diversity of, and what are the MBA options that are available, and why do so many engineering students do MBA as well?
Yeah, so we are not touching MBA other than finance, right?
No, we can. You can touch.
Okay, so I think a lot of engineers who would like to be focused on finance, then actually they should get into MBA finance. Definitely, yes. That is the core. And in case they are positioning on two sides, and as Varun rightly mentioned, in case they are looking at getting into core financial markets, hedge funds, fund management, treasury, they should definitely look at doing CFA, level 1, level 2, whatever. And that is what will give them that edge. So I think just an MBA would not be sufficient. If you want to stand out, you need to definitely do that. And that will be more product related, market related. But if the student would like to be more on wealth management, where is interacting with clients, and then where behavioral issues with individuals and institutions have to be handled, then I think they could, and they don't like too much of mathematics, then I think they could move to do an CFP, where they become financial planners or wealth managers or whatever. So a student post engineering going into financial markets should be doing an MBA finance. Definitely, that's the base thing, and do from a good college, and then do either of this in case they are planning to get into any super specialization. I'm leaving all those things out, the account, the general finance and out, because I think those are done by more people slightly lower, probably graduates can handle that, or probably a CA. Probably we're talking about control and all those, I think chartered accountants can handle. So an engineer MBA finance with a CFA would do an excellent thing, probably in corporate finance, treasury, financial markets. MBA with CFP probably could be a good wealth manager or a financial planner. Yeah, that. But we have a lot of other areas, MBA finance and the MBA marketing, and then we do all that. I don't think that should be the discussion now, Vijay. I'll restrict that.
So, Vinod, you did masters in finance after your engineering. Can you tell the students out there what is masters in finance?
So I did my masters in financial engineering, and so this is a program which is a little different from your MBA in finance, right? So your masters in financial engineering is meant for people who want to get into the quantitative side of finance, right? So within finance, again, there are a lot of substreams, and the financial engineering program is tailored for people who want to get into the quantitative finance. And after this, you can end up in jobs like risk management or a hedge fund, which is more quantitative driven, like your high frequency trading platform or your algorithm trading platform or your derivative platform, etc. And again, if you want to get into trading and all that, I think a financial engineering program is probably much more suited. That said, like I mentioned, right, once I went into financial engineering, I decided to tweak my program to be more like a corporate finance program, which is a little more similar to the MBA in finance. So the MBA in finance is basically prepares you for a job in a corporate finance, in a treasury, like Naveen mentioned earlier, or into investment banking or asset management, wealth management, etc. So the MBA in finance and your master's in financial engineering is a little more different fields. I think people can decide where they want to go once they first understand if they want a career in finance. This is again tweak after you know that you're interested in finance, then you have to tweak and realize where specifically you want to end up in. So that's the second stage where you can think about it. But I think the first stage where students need to understand is, okay, what they're interested in doing, whether finance is the right field for them. And because it's again not an easy industry, it's a very competitive industry as well. So, I mean, before we start that discussion, I think just want to leave it out there that the difference between a master's in financial engineering and an MBA in finance is just that the financial engineering program is a much more quantitative program tailored for the risk management and the hedge funds, which are more quantitative oriented.
So to all the three of you, the question right now is, let's say in hindsight, right now, when we look back at, does colleges matter? Does the branch matter if you're planning to go out of engineering and do an MBA or to do masters in finance? Does the college and branch matter? Varun, what's your take on that?
So I think I would give a lot of importance to college rather than branch. So that's the question, right, Vijay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So see, I was in a similar situation when I was getting metallurgy initially at Surathkal. Then I had a branch change to chemical later. But at that time, Surathkal was obvious choice because it was close to my house and there's a lot of reputation and all that. But even now, when I look back, so basically, I would say that you want to be surrounded by the best folks, basically, right? So in my campus, we had 7 to 8 guys who had CET rank from 1 to 10. So 7 or 8 guys had joined Surathkal. Probably 1 or 2 would have got IIT or some other college, basically. But you want to be surrounded with the best mind or best brains. There's a lot of things that you get to learn from them, especially on their problem-solving skills, the reading or analytical abilities. So the cream of the state or the cream of the country in your campus and in your friend circle. So that is how I think you. So I would give a lot of importance to that aspect that one gets to experience in this 4 years, rather than being very specific on branch or see, because even the placement data shows that most of the companies they are generally open to hiring people across branches. So they really do not have a lot of restrictions on we'll not take guys from this branch or that branch. So when that is not an issue, and you get to experience the you get to mingle around with the best folks. So I would say that college actually matters much more than being branch specific.
Naveen, your take on that?
Yes, so if you're very focused on a specific branch and you don't want to compromise, then I would go with the branch, so that if that is my first love, so if my first love is a branch, then a college, and I'm pretty sure that I'll continue in that branch, and then here I think we differ that I don't want to go to finance. So suppose I did my chemical engineering and I only want to continue in chemical engineering, then I'll not settle with the college, but with my branch. But if I am still unsure and probably this is just a stepping stone, then I would rather go with a more better college, and then probably branches don't matter. So if you're sure, I think that's the choices. It becomes much easier. So if I want to be a mechanical engineer all through my life and I'm very sure nothing would disturb me, then I would not settle for anything more than mechanical and less than mechanical, and that's where it should be. Yeah. That's
So Vinod, your take on that?
No, I think I tend to agree with Naveen and Varun, right? I mean, it's basically if you know exactly what you want to do, right, which field you want to do in engineering, then I think it's simple, right? You have to compromise on the university, probably, right? But I think 80% of the people out there, at least for me, it was not clear what I wanted to do, right? So I think for 80% of people, they're still unsure on the specific field within engineering they want to pursue. Because, I mean, what you have experienced in the last probably until your pre-university is probably not the reality in the industry. So only when you start going to your engineering courses and start reading about the specific courses and do some internships, you'll really realize what the industry is about, right? And so that at that point, it probably can be a little too late if you pick a course over a university. But I mean, so like Varun mentioned, I mean, it's you have to. I'd rather pick university if I'm not sure on which field specifically. And the reason is very simple, right? I mean, the best companies go to the best universities. They don't want to waste their time going to the tier 2 universities, right? I mean, they know that if it's a company like Goldman Sachs, Deloitte, Morgan Stanley, they know that there is no program in India which prepares students for a financial program. But at the same time, they want to recruit the best brains out there. And they can find the best brains in the best colleges. So they will go to the best colleges, pick the best brains, and they will train them in finance. So I think it's an easy call if you're unsure of which specific field you want to do in engineering. So I would rather pick a university over a course. Yeah.
Vijay,
to the students out there, so 1 minute. Naveen, yes. Naveen.
So just to join there, so if you are not looking for a Goldman Sachs and you believe that you want to do something of your own, then I think it would also matter. Then one would like to probably do his or her branch. So probably that. But again, at that point of time, it's very difficult. I totally agree because we are still in a confused state. So, but if you are very sure that I want to be on my own after a few years or whatever, and then I think it becomes slightly more easier. But again, these data points are not very easy to get.
So to the students out there, you can ask your questions. Maybe we're discussing way too high levels. So there's a student, there's a question here from Shivnarayan SP, and I would give it to Naveen. He says, does stock markets also come under finance? And are there finance jobs in aviation?
The question is, does stock market also come under
finance? Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely yes. So I think that is where the most of the activity happens. Financial markets, the equity markets are the most, and I think the other two panelists will totally agree with that. And the most excitement, and especially MBA finance, the CFA or whatever, are ideally suited for careers around this, either on the product side or either on the advisory side. So the answer is yes. Yeah.
And his second question there is, are there finance jobs in aviation sector too? Are there financial jobs in aviation sector?
Okay. So again, finance is slightly broader. So if you talk about admin finance and which are not financial market in nature, but probably are not corporate finance in nature, then I think the other guys can do that better, probably a chartered accountant or somebody who's more into accounts and admin. But again, the lines are very fine, very, very fine. So I believe an MBA finance is more suitable on financial markets related side rather than the admin finance. So probably if the aviation job is about interacting in markets, arranging for funds and managing the risk of the company, a risk manager, whatever, then definitely an MBA finance would do a better cut there. Yeah. So there should be jobs. Yeah. There should definitely be jobs. Yeah.
So there's a thank you from Shivnarayan. You can, I think, to the students, you can ask directly questions to the panelists, or you can ask to everyone there. So you had spoken about entrepreneurship. So tell me, if a students out there want to be an entrepreneur, what are the path they should take?
So there's no two ways about it. You need to either you're an entrepreneur or probably attracting getting the best placement. You need to invest a lot, and especially if you have to be an entrepreneur, you need to invest more because you are on fire there. So either ways, you need to do exactly the same thing you would have done if you would have taken up a job. And even if you become an entrepreneur, you need to work for some years and then probably go back. So the background of doing an engineering and MBA finance and all that definitely is required. Apart from that, I think entrepreneurship also requires sometimes that passion where you will continue doing and not getting your money in. So that is an extra ingredient. I think most of the management colleges don't prepare the students for. So we are very good in risk management of an institution, but probably managing our own risk and when probably things are not happening, and those are slightly ingrained, I would believe. So that the third quality which has to be developed, or probably it is inborn, is being passionate, which sees you. So a lot of people debate that require a lot of capital. I would probably not agree fully on that. You need to be passionate and then probably have some amount of capital. But I think the basic thing which has to be done, you need to do your basic courses. Those are required because there are regulations which makes you which makes it mandatory in any field to until unless you're planning to be a politician. But otherwise, you need to do these basic things because even if you're an entrepreneur, people look at the credentials, who is handling your money, who is the person in front of you. So I can't just be an entrepreneur without doing anything, until unless you're planning to be a politician. So I think it is very, very critical, and probably as an entrepreneur, it is more critical.
So most of the students who are at probably listening to this are students probably in their 15, 16, 17 years old. And compared to the other countries out there, the financial education that's happening in high school or in 11th and 12th is less. What would your advice, let's say somebody says, I want to take on the path of like Warren Buffett did, and I want to be into investment I want to become one of the best investors, or like George Soros, and on and on and on. What is your advice to the students who are in that age right now, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th?
You're talking to me?
Any one of you guys.
Yeah. I'll address that. So I think our education system makes us very analytical. We become very good quantitative. We can analyze things. I think one thing which we learn with age is having patience, and that is, I think, which is generally, I think, if you take these guys, and especially if you look at Warren Buffett and all, and probably if you go into his reading, he talks about a lot of patience. I think generation of my generation and the generation, the younger one, and especially you put the number like 17, 18, and people are very impatient. I think they need to, apart from all this skill, they need to be extremely patient enough, because you don't become Warren Buffett just because you have done an MBA in finance or you have done a CFA. So it's very difficult, Vijay, to have a course on patience, right? It's impossible. So we can't. And so probably I would say I was a very aggressive guy, and then I got married. I got I became slightly more patient, and then probably I got my first daughter. Then probably I got my graduation in patience. I got my second daughter. I became a PhD in patience. So probably that helps me a lot today when probably I see my own portfolio, client's portfolio going down. It does not affect me much. I think these are the skills are very difficult to be taught. Then I think that is where the intersection of finance and spiritualism probably comes in. So I think that will go beyond the discussion. But having said that, the basic grounding in the core courses is an absolute must. Apart from that, lot of reading and learning from other mistakes by reading or experiences are an absolute must. Yeah, those goes without saying, Vijay. Yeah, that's my take. Yeah.
So, Vinod, the question to you here. See, I know one thing that I found surprising to me was after I graduated, even for my master's, and then I did get a job in Schlumberger, international company. I was very happy with my salary, but until I saw the salaries that the finance people were getting. Why are finance people paid so well?
Yeah, Vijay, I'll answer that question. I'll just answer the previous question. I just want to add a point to what Naveen said as well. I'll answer that, and then I'll come to your question. So I think when you're in that age where you're 15, 16, 17, I think the first thing you have to try and realize is whether you have a passion for finance, right? There are two ways to do this, right? One, you start reading about finance, start reading a financial newspaper or something, see if whatever they said over there excites you or something like that, right? I mean, then the next step in reading is to start reading about corporate finance. Corporate finance is the basic course in finance, which talks generally about finance, right? These are the 101 of finance. Other than reading and trying to understand if you have an interest, the other thing that you can do is take an internship, right? Right now, I know a lot of people are probably preparing for their exams, but after the exams, I think once they have given the exams, I think they have about a month or so before they get their grades, and they have to decide which college they want to go, which course they want to do, etc. Right? So I would encourage people to use that any time that they get when they're not preparing for exams to do an internship, go and join a business that your relatives are doing, see what they're doing. I mean, if your relative is running a restaurant or something, go and see if they can understand how the business is run. If that excites you, the daily in and outs of that business excites you not, then you'll understand whether you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be into business, whether you want to be in finance or something like that. If it's not for you, then at least know early on that finance is not for you, right? So this is something that I would encourage students to do. And then now coming back to your other question about why finance people are getting paid higher than other industries, right? I mean, I think that is generally true, but not fully correct currently. I mean, finance industry is paid well because, especially if you're in the US or in a developed market, is simply because that's where the most of the money is, right? At least that's where most of the money was. The banks like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, whatever, and they would go and recruit the best brains out there. And to recruit the best brains, you have to pay the top dollars for the brain. So this industry turned out to be paying higher and higher every year, and the pays that the finance industry got was much higher than a person graduating out of other industries like your mechanical or electrical or even computers until like 20 years ago, right? So this was the main reason. But I think this has been changing in the last 15 odd years, or if not after the dot-com bubble, where the finance industry has been replacing by your IT and tech companies, and even the startups for that matter. Today, if you see more and more people are going into your IT and tech companies, and they're graduating and they're getting paid more than the finance industry. But that said, I mean, I would still say that the finance industry gets paid, get compensated pretty handsomely compared to the other industries out there.
So I would like to, I think, add to that. I think if I put the salaries or the topping salaries that are coming to IITs or NITs, I think tech industries other than Google, Amazon are the topping jobs, and after that followed immediately by the finance and consultancy jobs.
So this is for NITK, and I checked even for IITs, right? As in, it would pretty much be in the similar kind of range. I'm sure a lot of guys
so
would be interested.
Why don't you can just summarize it? I mean, it's not very visible.
So basically, sorry. So Goldman Sachs was paying more than 20. So they were the top recruiters in terms of top dollar pay in Surathkal. Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo. Futures First, again a derivatives trading company, was paying around 17-18 lakhs for a trader role in NITK, Surathkal. ZS Associates, more management consultant. So they were paying around 14 to 15 lakhs in the campus. Core company, from what I could gather, IOCL was the top payer with 11 to 12 lakh. And other core companies were in the range of 7-8 lakhs. So finance companies still, I don't know about Amazon or Flipkart if they're. So, but I was told that. This is NITK recent. Yeah.
Do you have an idea like how much an Infosys or a TCS would be paying for?
I think they should be in the range of 6 to 8 for.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think other than the exceptions from Amazon or this thing, the finance companies still dominate the pay salaries in India. So Varun, I thank you for pulling out this data. So Naveen, to the question for you, you help people with investments. So what is your advice to the students out there to, start investing early, what they can do to get into their self-savings and starting up their own portfolio when I know they don't have much money right now, but even if the small money that they have, how do they get into the habit? Like Warren said, right? He started at 11, he said, I started late. So the students at 18 or 17, 18 are already late as per Warren Buffett. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, so but this gets into something like the typical regulations, what we call this investor awareness programs, but I'll keep it very short. I think first thing for a lot of students and across branches, it's very important that when you get your first salary or whatever, or you have some money, you need to be managing within your income. So you're earning 100. I generally say a thumb rule should be earning 100 or there's a pocket money 100, whatever you could take it. You should manage within 50. So first thing is about saving. If you can't save well, if you're not a disciplined saver, you'll never become an investor. So investing and MBA finance all comes later. If you're a bad saver, then you're a good client to a bank on a personal loan or a housing loan or a car loan. So I think one should be a disciplined saver. Maximum they should manage within those 50% of their income, and that should be done diligently, irrespective of whatever income you are doing it. And that is my thought process for everybody I meet. He earns $1 lakh a month or he earns 10 lakhs a month, does not make anything different. So first thing is, I think they should focus on saving more, and investing would still come much later. Focus should still be lots into saving. And they should also believe that you can't become overnight rich. So save well and put your focus in whatever you're doing well. You are in any profession, I say that. Focus on that rather than focus on markets, at least in the initial phase of a career. If that is not your core job, if your core job is consulting, not financial markets, then I think you should focus there and focus on your savings, and then gradually come into this. So I would always say the highest returns are made in one's profession rather than financial markets. In case financial markets would have given these returns, I don't think we require any jobs, right? So that is like the tail wagging the dog. So in the initial phase, first 5 years, focus on savings, disciplined savings, and focus on your career, and then get into whatever investment you talk about, stocks or whatever. But I think you should strongly believe that you can't become Warren Buffett on a single day or in 5 years. So you need to do a lot amount of reading for that. Yeah, I would say that I'm very, very conservative from that angle. So definitely no trading for these guys, at least for the first 5-6 years of their career. Yeah, no.
Shivnarayan, SP, you can unmute yourself and ask the questions there. Do you want to?
So what is the role played by finance engineers in their job?
So again, financial engineering, there are a lot of job opportunities available after you do financial engineering, right? So the most common job people end up going after doing the financial engineering is risk management. And risk management jobs are available across any segment of finance. Or so even if in a commercial bank is something like your Axis Bank or your HDFC, you need risk managers there. If you go to your corporate, any corporate, right, any company, they need risk managers. Not many, but they need a few. But most of the risk managers end up going into an investment bank or asset management side, because risk management is a job which is common across the different industries. And basically this is the job which the financial engineering trains you for, because it's a little more quantitative, etc. 10 to 20% of the people from financial engineering will probably go into the quantitative investing side of finance. Here you can either go to a hedge fund, which does derivative trading, algorithm trading, high frequency trading, etc. The thing is that in these fields the jobs are very limited, but at the same time these are highly sought after jobs. So the best brains in the industry go to these segments, because the compensation is very high and the challenges are very high, etc. Right? So at the same time, even if you do your financial engineering, there will be other people competing for those jobs which are meant for quantitative financing in a hedge fund or other streams, from people who have done PhDs in physics and mathematics. These people have no background in finance, but they still will be competing for jobs in hedge fund, which is quantitative driven, because ultimately they need the quant brain rather than the finance brain in these jobs. But if you're talking about the risk management side, then generally the financial engineering program will train you for that.
Vinod, I have a question. Basically, I just want to clarify also. So financial engineering would come post engineering, right? I would just want to clarify if people are thinking that after your 12th you can just directly do financial engineering. Nothing of that sort exists, right?
So I mean, in India right now there is no undergrad program in finance, rather, right? There's no engineering program in finance.
Right.
So this is a program available in India. I'm not sure if financial engineering program is available, but in the US, financial engineering programs are available after you do your undergraduation. So, okay. But at the same time in the US, there are undergrad programs in finance, in economics, etc.
Sure.
So usually people in the US do their undergrad in finance or economics and then do their masters in financial engineering. But when I did it, there was no program in India in engineering, right? So it was a master's program. It was not a bachelor's program.
Thanks.
In and around Mangalore, there are many colleges which are offering, along with bachelor degree, they are offering these certificate courses in finance from UK, US, and all. They may say how useful it is as compared to the finance engineering.
Vijay, I can answer this.
Yes.
See, I would not focus on getting any of this, because if you simply go to Coursera and any other platforms these days, you get much better value for your money, is what I've realized, right? So these certificates or added certification along with your major program would not add a lot of value to me as a recruiter or a recruiter is concerned. As a recruiter, I'm concerned. So I would stay a bit wary of these kind of certificates, and rather pick and choose something from much better universities out there, Coursera or any other platforms. So so that is my take on this.
So just one point to add here is that, I mean, when you're going for your first job in finance, and if you want to get into a reputed company, doing your CFA level 1, and in CFA there are 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. Even if you just finish your level 1, that is much more has a much more weightage than any other certificates you can do out there. Because it's very tough to do your CFA level 1, and the second thing is because it covers almost all the other entire gamut of finance in that one level. So I would if possible, definitely CFA level 1 is highly recommended than any other certificates out there to get into a proper financial company.
Or if you can simply manage to get a 3-month or a 6-month internship using your contacts at any of the finance or any of these companies, I think that will be the best option one can look out for.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take on a little more questions before we end the session. I would also request Varun, Naveen, and Vinod to share their email addresses on the chat. So if somebody has questions to them, they could email them. Any other questions out there?
There's a question, Vijay, on somebody has asked here. Is actuarial science same as finance? Aditya Shankar.
You can answer that. I think probably it's to you directly. So.
Okay, actuarial science same as finance. So actuarial science would come more under annuities and insurance plans. So I think there will be a lot amount of statistics. So you could say it could be not an exact branch of finance, but probably definitely yes. So pensions and your pensions and insurance, which gets covered. Yeah, so that's also could be a good area of specialization for people who are looking at getting into actuarial field while making the tables for pension funds and insurance companies.
So, Varun, I would ask a last question to you. One question to you is, if somebody wants to know what the highest paying jobs are there in finance, now that you are and been in finance for the longest time, what are the highest paying jobs in finance?
Sorry, go on, Vijay.
Yeah, is it like for example, somebody wants to become the CFO, Chief Finance Officer in a company? What is the pathway that they can take?
So I think two different questions. Highest paying jobs in finance, I think would still be somewhere in either on the trading desk of Goldman Sachs or any other proprietary trading firm, or an investment banking kind of a role. I think Vinod would add to that probably. So investment banking or a trader kind of role probably would still be the top paying job today. But having said that, I'm not sure if those kind of roles they come to engineering college, or it's mostly post MBA, I would like to think. But from the survey that I have done, at least in the engineering campus today, Goldman Sachs or somebody like Wells Fargo, the kind of roles that they are recruiting for would be for machine learning mostly, like somebody with a good grip on Python or a little bit of coding along with solid analytical skills. So these kind of skill set would attract the top finance paying roles. So a CFO or like other kind of role that would be a little different from these kind of. So I think that will require more of your like MBA kind of a background rather than your engineering or a quant kind of thing. I would like to.
Okay. So Naveen, if somebody wanted to do a finance in MBA finance, what are the best colleges in the country for that?
Long time I have not been tracking. Yeah, I think it's no, I should not be the best guy to tell this now. Yeah, I'm pretty old, I think now.
I mean, I think generally the IIMs are the best ones right out there, and then you have one or two outside the IIMs which are the best colleges to do MBA in finance.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think within IIM, I think IMC. I would, from what I've gathered, I think it's IMC.
I think our TAPME is also a very good college. That's the feedback I've got. So probably if you are not lucky enough to get into those 5-10 colleges, I think you could also look at these again with the same thing, that whether you are looking at being focused as an entrepreneur. I have a bias being an entrepreneur. So if you're planning to get into finance, but long term the intention is to be an entrepreneur, then probably get into, even if you don't get into the top college, that would also be okay. I'll just like to add, Vijay, here, connecting from my journey, something like, in case you got into an engineering college and then finance is something which attracts you, but you don't like mathematics. So this is possible, no? So these are all things.
Yeah.
All this is possible, and that is not the end. So you can still fall in love with finance, but you don't like too much of numbers, but you are very good with people, and you are very good with wealth management as per se, because the personal finance is more personal than finance. So you're doing a CFP where we are talking about a lot amount of behavioral issues. We are not talking about fund management, but we are talking about managing wealth for a family or a larger family, where a lot of interaction issues are important. And if you're very good in communication skills and you can put across the thoughts well across to people, so there is a huge amount of large amount of jobs available, because a lot of these wealth management firms recruit people who are an intersection between finance and human skills. So for all those, and especially for women, I think this, not only men, for women also, because I think they empathize better. So a lot of these banks, and all banks have a wealth management team nowadays, which recruits people who are wealth managers. And so if you're an engineer, you like finance, but you don't like too many things which Vinod mentioned, because there was too much sophistication there, and what Varun also mentioned. So still there is scope, and there is a career path for these people. Yeah.
So Navin, can you just brief them on that, how to get that certification, wealth management certification, or if they want to get that path, how they can go about with that path?
Correct. So you've done engineering. So we're assuming that you've done engineering. Then you do your MBA finance, and then you realize you don't like this. So you can do Certified Financial Planner, CFP. So it's an international body. You can Google the details there. It is under Financial Planning Standard Board, FPSP, Financial Planning Standard Board, which is a US body which gives this certificate. Apart from that, there are wealth management courses available in the country. Apart from that, NISM has courses on Investment Advisor Module 1 and Module 2, which are very important in case you want to join any wealth management firm. These are basic certification which you need to pass through and do that. So CFP would be the highest one, which is internationally recognized. And again I'll repeat, this is not for fund management, treasury related jobs. These are more wealth management. So you can do that courses, you can do this NISM courses, and still be, and believe me Vijay, people make equally good money there at these points. They don't look very sophisticated mathematically wise, but I think people who don't like mathematics can still make a lot of money.
I would just like to add something here also. I just don't want to send a wrong message out here. Though engineering, doing engineering will equip you with analytical problem solving skills and all that, it's not essential that one needs to have engineering degree to become a successful finance guy or whatever. Some of the best investors that I've come across are they have degrees like Bachelor of Arts or Master of Arts, and they're very voracious readers, and they like to analyze a lot of business. So I think it's essential for you to have interest for learning business. That's at the prime front. You need to have a lot of interest to understand business, and you need to be a good. You need to have a lot of interest in reading, and you need to be inquisitive for learning new things. After that, engineering is not. Though we as engineers, on average, tend to do okay, but it's not absolutely essential that engineers only make finance, good finance guys or whatever. So I just want to.
Rishabh Rao, you want to ask that question to Varun? You want to unmute yourself and ask that question to Varun?
Yes, sir. So in the future, are there any estimates for which is going to be the leading field in finance? For example, right now we are saying that machine learning is going to be the future, something like that, but financial equivalent.
See, I think as of now, from what I have spoken to and from what I've gathered, there's a lot of interest for this machine learning or automating things using Python and all these in the finance. And also another aspect that we do not give a lot of importance in finance is on the behavioral aspect, the behavioral science front. I think Vinod can add a few points here. So there's a lot of research and a lot of work which is happening on the behavioral science front, focusing on finance and how humans tend to behave or misbehave or whatever, right? Given incentives and all that. So behavioral finance, something on machine learning, all these are exciting fields. I would like to think. Vinod, if you can add any other areas.
No, I tend to agree with you, right? It's the only other field that is coming up is fintech, right? Fintech is the combination of finance and technology, right? And within this, you have a lot of things that people are still exploring. So basically, you're again having a technology background, having a little bit understanding about finance will help. So within, our fintech is another upcoming field within finance, I would say.
Vinod, which are the fintech companies out there? Are they companies? Is it a technology on its own, or are companies specifically using fintech to invest or do automation? So you can talk basically about an index fund and
so basically, fintech is a generic term, right? Fintech is anything which is using technology, leveraging technology to do what a traditional finance job was doing, right? So fintech can, like your traditional banks that are lending, giving out loans out of your offices near your house, is moving to your online, which is basically you're getting a loan from your app, mobile app. So there are a lot of companies coming out, startup companies coming out there, which are exploring this field. Then you can go more sophisticated within this, right? I mean, why just give a loan to, just to give an example, right? Why just give a loan to someone who you have a bank account with? How do I give a loan to someone who doesn't has a credit history? So what technology is doing is that, I mean, technology is trying to come up with data mining, big data, machine learning, like Varun mentioned, to understand who I can lend to and explore a new segment of this industry. So, I mean, there are a lot of jobs within fintech. So, I mean, right now, again, I would just take a step back and I think we're getting too specific and going into the weeds of this finance field. Rather, I would just say that, I mean, you can start your journey in as engineering in technology, and then you can later on go into finance, because there are a lot of fields out there that are coming up which need a technology background. So, yeah.
So I think there are no questions out there. So
There is, Vijay, there is one question.
I think it's specifically to you, Naveen. You can answer it.
Yes. Would I be able to get into management job if I do a maths degree from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, from Aditya Shankar? So I believe that this maths degree is at an undergraduate level. And in case you want to get into management job, so definitely you should be doing a post-graduation, especially MBA is mandatory in case you want to get in. So I believe the question means that the maths degree is a graduate level degree. So in case you want to get into management, so that is true for anything. You're a bachelor in arts, you're a bachelor in commerce, bachelor in engineering. To do an MBA, I think you should get into management.
If there are no questions out there, so I would like to thank the panelists out there, Naveen for taking your time, Varun for taking your time, and Vinod for taking your time. And I would actually would also thank all the students who had entered, joined this panel and asked the questions. I hope this discussion here would have given you some insight on the opportunities in finance that are there, or the career paths you can take in finance, non-technical paths in non-technical engineering paths after engineering. So thank you. I wish have a good night and have a nice evening. Bye-bye. Bye to all.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye.